Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in studio this morning is DeWitt County Sheriff Mike Walker. Sheriff, good to see you, sir.
You too, Seth. How you doing?
Hey, not bad. I'm ready for spring, man.
Me too.
Yeah, I was talking with Chief Bross about the kind of foot traffic. I know you're a walker. You're out. You're a walker and a walker, if you will. But are you out like even when it's really?
No, I haven't been getting out. I've been doing stuff inside. Just got too cold, and the pavement pounded on my. I had a injury to my heel, so I started doing some different things.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah,
but no, I used to be out regardless what the temperature was. I'd be out.
Yeah. Well, good time to get back to it if your foot's feeling better. Yep. But at any rate, let's dive into. I know I've had a person you work closely with, Karen Clevenger. Of course, she's the new CENTCOM director, and one of the things she has highlighted in our recent visits is the changes to 911. And you know, when someone calls, particularly with a medical emergency, they're going to get more questions and those sorts of things. Has that at all impacted your guys' operations, and if so, how?
I don't think it's impacted the actual law enforcement side. I think it does help some because we're, you know, if we're dispatched to a medical call, we're obviously trying to listen to the information that's being given to the EMTs and the paramedics and fire departments. So it does help, but I think in my opinion, I think the people that's helping the most is the dispatchers. Mm-hmm. You know, this new Pro QA EMD system that we have. You know, it's scripted for them. So, you know, they get the phone call, they get it on there, and it tells them the questions to ask in a certain way, and that's one of the things that you know, the reason why it was purchased through the ETSB board was for that. Mm-hmm. Because this company's been around since the 80s. They've done a lot of research. If you know, if something goes bad on a call, they will come in and basically be an expert witness that the dispatcher did everything right. Mm-hmm. It has a component in there where the dispatchers their calls are being reviewed. So you got a for lack of a better term, a quality assurance aspect to it, which, you know, if there's room for improvements, the Pro QA gives that dispatcher that feedback and allows them to be able to improve what they're doing. Sure.
You know, and I remember asking Karen this question. It sounds a lot like eventually AI may be able to step in as an aid in these calls. How do you feel about like AI, you know, kind of not infiltrating this, but becoming an assistant in this?
I think personally, I don't think AI has anything any place in public service. I don't know if you watch 911, the TV show, but here it's funny you mentioned that because here several weeks ago they had an episode where somebody had designed an AI program for dispatching. Mm-hmm. And it basically took over a call, and it wasn't a good thing. Now, is it far-fetched? Yes, it is. But when you mention AI, I think a lot of people are thinking about what can AI do, you know, especially in government entities and stuff where budgets are getting tighter all the time. Mm-hmm. You know, if there is that aspect for an AI aspect where you can put that in on the dispatch system instead of having a person sitting in the chair where you're having to pay them a salary,
right?
You know, benefits and things like that.
I think most people would agree that like you're going to need that human element in first response. But I also think like and you can say, you know, if I'm wrong, but I feel like there could be an avenue for AI maybe assistance, not necessarily a full takeover. I think that would be very extreme.
I don't know how that would work, but I think you still have to have that human
element
which can hear the emotion of
totally.
The caller.
I totally agree.
The caller can hear the emotion of the dispatcher because, you know, to me there's nothing worse than calling somebody and getting this
automated system
and that kind of nonsense, to where, you know, if you call 911, you want to talk to a person, and a person, you know, someone who can hear your emotion and hear what you're going through and use a calming voice, you know, a real person who can
100%.
adjust to what they're hearing, there's nothing, there's nothing like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I totally agree. So I guess back to the changes in the 911 center. Have there been any changes that impact your guys and your deputies and those guys out on the streets?
Well, I think for one, we've been very successful. Karen has been very successful in getting people in the positions and getting back up to staff. We're down one now, but we got actually we're down two positions. Eight is where we can comfortably be full staff, but we have positions for 9, and we're down to 7 right now, but we got 2 going through the background process. So hopefully here in the next few weeks we'll have those people hired. But any time you can be full staffed in the dispatch center and people aren't having to work,
overtime.
Prior to Karen being there, we were down to 5 dispatchers, which that puts a lot of stress on the dispatchers working 12 hours days, 6-7 days a week sometimes. It wears them out, it burns them out, and just having those fresh person sitting in that seat, it makes a huge difference when it comes not only to dispatching the deputies and the officers and fire departments and everything, but just having that clarity of mind and knowing that they're going to be able to get their days off when they're supposed to, rather than having to work a lot.
And that's such a tough job. It's stressful enough, some days, and to have to go, extra when the time is supposed to be for you to rewind or unwind and recharge.
Right. Well, and I think too, part of to me, if I was sitting in there, one of the hardest things that I would have to deal with is sometimes you don't know what the end result of that call is. You get somebody calling in with a domestic or a burglary or a car accident or something like that, and you may not know what the end result is. You may know that, okay, well, this happened and the police went and they arrested him, but what's going to happen after that? So sometimes the unknown would be kind of a bit of a stressor for me.
Sure. DeWitt County Sheriff Mike Walker in studio with us. We talked about the 911 center and some of the recent changes to the center that have impacted more kind of EMS response. But
and we went to this. We were under a different EMD protocol, which didn't have the reviewing portion to it, and the quality assurance, and that is one thing that the state requires. Everybody's your work's supposed to be followed up on. You're supposed to have reviews and things like that. So that I don't think that was getting done the way it needed to be done, because it would have been done by a supervisor or by a peer or something. So now we got to, not only is it being done, but it's being done by a neutral third party who doesn't know these dispatchers, and there's no element of, oh, I know this person, let's give them a break here or there or whatever. They're basing it on the training that they've been provided by the company. They've had 24 hours training on this. So it's like I was talking to some dispatchers the other day, it would be great if deputies and corrections and police officers would have something when they go to handle a call that would pop up in front of them and say, okay, ask this, do this, and it makes it, to me, I've never been a dispatcher other than 40 years ago in Pana, when the dispatcher would go on break, I'd sit there and answer the radio and answer the phones, but to actually be a professional dispatcher, I've never done it. But to me, if you're being provided those things, I think it could make your job easier.
No question. And I've we've had Karen in, and I remember before her, Tony Harris was kind of talking this next gen 911, and I don't know if it has stalled out or what the status of it is, but being able to report either circumstances, crimes, whatever, via like text, video.
911 text is going.
That's right. Now that you say that, that's right. How's that going?
I don't know, 6 months or so ago. I don't think we've gotten a whole lot of 911 text messages. I think it's something that I think in the future, when especially the younger generation becomes adults and are more out and about and seeing emergencies or things that they need 911 for, I think you could see it increasing then, because I think still now the generation of people that are calling 911 are still used to making those emergency phone calls. But as well as I do, these younger kids, they would rather text or Snapchat you or whatever they're doing now, rather than pick up the phone and actually have a conversation with somebody.
Sure.
And I think that's
Is that a viable way to respond to an emergency? An effective way, I should say.
I wouldn't think so, because you're going when you got somebody on the phone, you're talking to them, you're getting an immediate response.
In real time, yeah.
When you're having to answer with a text, you got to communicate through texting, and then you're waiting for that response to come back from the caller or texter, to where, if all of a sudden you don't get a text back for 30 seconds or a minute, now the dispatcher doesn't know, okay, has something happened to this person? If it's a medical emergency, do they just now go unconscious? Or if it's a car accident or whatever the case may be, you really don't know. With at least on the phone, you can hear what's going on. If if a person passes out, you could hear them falling and dropping the phone or things like that. So I don't think it's the best way, but there could be situations where someone could be in a domestic situation where they can't pick up the phone and call because their abuser is right there next to them, where they could send a text asking for help. And I see there are some benefits to it in certain situations, but I still think in most 911 emergencies, it's best to make the phone call so you can have that conversation with a real person.
And I think back to this, like when you're learning about, firefighters, when you're learning about police, and you're learning about, the folks that run the ambulance, the EMTs, when you're in school learning about those things, you're taught to call 911. And I would think until that messaging kind of changes at that level, you're probably just going to continue to see people call 911.
Well, I would hope, but I didn't think, granted, now you got to remember I was around before texting,
right?
And I've seen texting and evolve, and I would have never thought that texting would be where it is now. And I think a lot of people would have never thought that texting would be where it is,
right?
But again, it's generational. It's where my generation, we wanted to talk to people. We wanted to pick up the phone and call somebody if we had something.
That was your only option, really.
It was our only option. But even when texting started coming, even to this day, if somebody texts me, more than likely, if it's going to be a conversation that I need to have, rather than sending 30 or 40 texts, I'd rather pick up the phone and call.
Yeah,
because in those long text conversations, and even sometimes short conversations, how many times has something been misconstrued or somebody takes it the wrong way because there's not that personal element in a text? It's just words on a screen,
right?
Or somebody sends you an emoji and or something like that. It's to me, it's just it's laziness, and it's taking the personal connection out of
I've got a YouTube video I want to send you about that. It's pretty funny. All right. Well, on that note, Sheriff, good stuff there. If folks want to follow along, DeWitt County Sheriff, how do they do that?
Facebook.
Very good. DeWitt County Sheriff Mike Walker in studio with us this morning. More to come with the Sheriff on the WHOW Morning Show. WHOW.
Here's Clinton Save-A-Lot owner Dave Jackson on how he works to save you money every day.
I know the retails at the stores in Decatur probably better than most of the people in the stores know. I monitor this closely so customers do not have to. And then you don't have to spend $40 or $30 driving round trip at 60 cents a mile to Decatur or Lincoln or Bloomington. That's real numbers. It's 60, 70 cents a mile to drive your car.
And as Clinton Save-A-Lot owner Dave Jackson always says,
hope to see you soon.
MR Systems Wireless is your local internet provider for Clinton and surrounding area. They have the products you want and the local service you deserve. MR Systems Wireless Internet service for home or business includes unlimited data, unlimited streaming, and unlimited calling. Plans start at just $48 a month and get a free Roku 4-lease with our media packages. Get the speed you need with MR Systems Wireless. Call them at 935-2100. That's 935-2100 for MR Systems Wireless.
Paul Scourin here, CEO of Warner Hospital. Spring allergies acting up? At Warner Hospital and Health Services, we offer fast treatment to help you breathe easier and feel better fast. Quality care right here, right now. Click on our icon on DeWittDailyNews.com.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police splatter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
Here's Hart Media Group owner Matt Hart talking about the Hart Media Group's continued commitment to local news, sports, and agriculture.
And at the end of the day, we're going to cover your local news. We're going to be dedicated to agriculture. Ag is such a huge part of our industry. We're obviously, if you're tuning in the radio, you know that. You're going to see that in our news, but then you're also going to see that local sports coverage as well as the local news coverage as well.
Find WHOW 1520 on Facebook, Instagram, and on TikTok.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, DeWitt County Sheriff Mike Walker in studio with us today. And Sheriff, we're coming up on the season, and I've seen a few guys out doing some tilling and those sorts of things, getting ready for the planters to start rolling for farmers. How about this time of year?
Oh yeah, it's like we were talking before. I got some friends on Facebook that are local farmers, and I saw they were out working the ground yesterday and getting involved, getting ready for planting season. And just the size of this equipment nowadays is just it's massive.
It really is, yeah.
And you look at some of our township roads, sometimes just two cars going by, you have to slow down and get off over a little bit, and it's dangerous for the farmers and the motorists if you're not paying attention, and you see those big that big equipment coming towards you, and you slow down and give them as much room as you can, and help get them to where they're going safe, because in the long run, they're the ones that are putting food on your table, and we want them to be able to get out there and do what they need to do.
Yep, for sure. In DeWitt County's rural areas can be a little, I think of 54 on the way to Kenny. You got that big kind of hill that turns down before Kenny and after Kenny, or whatever.
Yeah,
but
even our state routes can be dangerous.
54's got a couple tough spots.
Route 10 out by the spillway is dangerous. Those hills and things. And a lot of times what causes issues is people just don't have patience anymore.
Right.
I mean, you get behind a tractor pulling an implement or a planter or a combine or something, and you're on a hill or a curve. Those stripes that say no passing are there for a reason. And even though you think it's only going to take me 20 seconds to get around this piece of equipment, if you can't see what's coming, that 20 seconds could cause
an eternity.
It
really is.
Cause some serious issues. For
you. I remember just somebody told me a long time ago, a lot of if farmers and their equipment are out on, say, Route 10, 54, even 51, in some places, they said they don't want to be there. They don't want to be holding these people up, but that's just part of the route that they have to take to get to where they're going.
And I think too, part of that goes back to the size of the equipment and the township roads. Years ago they would stay on the township roads as much as possible, but now it's actually a little bit safer for them because they got more room to get their equipment to places. And I've never seen a farmer that is going down the road and doesn't move over so the cars behind him can get over. I mean, they're very courteous of drivers. They know that they're slowing things down, and they don't want to do that any more than anybody else, but they got a job to do, and fortunately, like I said, most of the farmers, I'd say 99.9% of them are courteous to other drivers and do what they do to help them get around and get on to where they need to be.
Need to be. And a point well made about the equipment. I'd never even thought of that, being just too big for township roads anymore. That's true.
Huge. I remember working for a farmer back in the day, and 40 years ago, and the tractors he had, I thought were big then, and now, I mean, those things look like toys compared to what they got.
Sure. So. Yeah. Well, now they're showing up at the antique shows there, Sheriff. So that's
well, you saying I'm an antique? Seth?
Not quite. You said it. I didn't know, but I just had this conversation with Chief Bross before you came in this morning, Sheriff, about just springtime, more activity. Folks are out more. I know you don't necessarily see folks kind of walking the country roads, but do you get much more more activity in way of people burglarizing vehicles in rural isolated homes and things like that?
Not necessarily. I don't think it's necessarily vehicles and homes. I think in the county, the thing that people like to hit out in the county are the machine sheds. You know, there because a lot of times the machine sheds are on a parcel of property out away from the home. People are storing their equipment and tools and things there. So it's and a lot of those it's hard for the farmers to have security cameras. A lot of them are going to using the trail cams because you're out in the middle of the country. It's going to cost you a lot of money probably to run internet there to be able to run a camera system that you can pull up on your have live updates and stuff. But we've got a lot of farmers with some recent burglaries. We're looking at or to put up trail cams and we just made an arrest over the weekend. We had a U-Haul truck out in the area of Weldon Springs, and one of my deputies stopped it. And it was full of a bunch of stuff, and they did some good police work and went and talked to a resident who saw that basically a stool was missing from his patio, and it was in that vehicle. So it gave us probable cause to make an arrest and hold that vehicle. And then the next morning we got a call that a place had been burglarized, and a lot of the stuff that was taken from that burglary was in that vehicle.
No kidding. Wow.
So we we got lucky on that, and it was good police work by my deputies that found that. So.
Sure. Very good. Well, on that note, Sheriff, I'll tell you what, we're coming up on having to let you go. Best way for folks to follow all things DeWitt County Sheriff's Office.
Our Facebook page. I know that's Facebook's kind of getting outdated with the younger people, but that's what we use, and we still get a lot of response.
I was going to say, still get response to it.
There.
Sure.
Sometimes we put things out. We get, when I was doing in the winter, thank goodness we're past that. When I was doing the road reports, it was not unlikely you get, 15, 20,000 views on that. So.
Well, now you've just jinxed us for a good snowfall at some point.
Well, that's all right.
DeWitt County Sheriff Mike Walker in studio with us this morning. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. We join Network News now.
WHOW.
With SRN News.